Okay, so let's so 25 minutes in
Uh-huh.
I've been recording this whole time.
Oh yeah.
Should we just like stop and start recording again, or does it matter?
I don't know. We're in it, baby.
Okay.
This is it.
Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So Halloween.
Uh-huh.
First of all, hi Rebecca.
Hi. Man, I don't remember
Total.
your face.
Oh no. That makes me sad.
You're gonna look like a different human the next time I see you, I think.
Honestly, there's a good chance of that being the case because I have got some serious COVID hair going.
Oh yeah, same.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I've seen some of your pics and that you've been posting, and I'm like, I think but yours, see, mine looks like a weird feathered mullet. Like it's just it's forming like some parts are curling where they shouldn't be curling.
Mhm.
But anyway,
My roots are just out of control. I have like
oh
3 inches of roots coming out right now.
oh geez. So yeah, I was gonna say, I guess if you've got colored hair, it's especially difficult right now because who wants to do that?
Yeah. No thanks.
I mean, I probably could. My stylist, the stylist I use, is pretty responsible. If I really wanted to, I bet I could set something up with him.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, well, so we're here, and we're recording this on October 30th.
Ooh. One
Ooh.
day before Halloween.
Halloween. I was about to ask. I don't know what could possibly be significant about that date.
I don't know.
It might just be every millennial's favorite holiday,
Pretty much is, I think.
which is funny. That's funny because I'm very like, I've been thinking about that recently, about how at a certain point it felt like there was a turn, and everyone was like, "No, but Halloween though."
Yeah.
And I don't. I guess I don't know really. I guess I'm trying to think of why that might be. Is it because all the millennials are like, remember when life was not terrible?
I think there's like a weird mix of things. I feel like, and I'm gonna say this as somebody. I'll get this out on the table. I fucking love Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that's like, Halloween is the best holiday ever and Christmas can go fuck itself. I'm like, no, I love Christmas. Fuck you. I love Christmas. I don't like how heavily fucking pushed it is at times, and I don't like the consumerism of it, but like, I enjoy the holiday personally. I enjoy the holiday time. But I think a lot of it has to do is, one, I think Halloween is highly nostalgic for a lot of people, and like millennials are the fucking nostalgic generation.
Yes.
So that's one thing. I think there's also, I think among a lot of millennials, we are, a lot of us, not all of us obviously, but a lot of us are, I don't want to say counterculture. I'm trying to think of the word. Like, I think a lot of us come from more conservative households, but we ourselves are not as conservative. And I think why I say that's important is because Christmas itself is a very conservative tied holiday.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people who are not religious obviously celebrate it. But it is also heavily tied into Christianity and to conservative beliefs and conservative communities. So if you came from a Christian household, you probably celebrated Christmas to a very extreme degree. And so I think for a lot of us, it's almost like Halloween was the holiday where we got to just have fun. And it wasn't about having to, like, go to church or do anything religious. It wasn't about having to see family we don't like. It wasn't about feeling obligated to do anything, because even if you're not religious and doing all that bullshit, there's still this weird obligation during the Christmas holidays. Like, I should probably go see family, or I have to buy all these presents for people, or, things like that. And Halloween's really free of that. Like, there's no family obligation, there's no gift-giving obligation. It's just like, do you want to go eat some fucking candy? Do you want to watch some horror movies? Do you want to go have a party? Like, who fucking cares? Go wild.
Yeah.
Go absolutely ham. It's great.
Go. Yeah. So I'm going to, one of the purposes of us recording this podcast is we just wanted to wax poetically, wax nostalgically for Halloween's past, especially in 2020 when, we're all doing our best, but that's the specter of 2020 kind of hangs over everything. And so I thought it would be nice to kind of look back and be like, all right, well, what about Halloween in the past have we really valued, and going forward, what do we gonna want to do in the future? Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because there's how do I put this? Okay, so I'll talk at length about Elvira in this episode, because I am super gay for Elvira, and there is a precedent for that. And she has a great quote about Halloween, about how, and it's basically what you said, which is there's no church, there's no presents, there's no pressure, except to celebrate it in whatever way you want. And it's, and I listened to like a 2-hour podcast about her on Page 7, which is one of the last Podcast Network podcasts. Oh, it's so good. Jackie Zabrowski is a treasure.
I love her so much. Do you follow her on Instagram?
No, I didn't know she had an Instagram.
Please follow Jackie Zabrowski on Instagram, because
oh my God.
Her, so she usually just posts selfies and shit like most of us do, but her descriptions under her photos are the most buck wild, no period, no punctuation, paragraph long rambles that you can hear in her voice, and it's
God,
they're amazing.
That sounds incredible. I'm gonna need something like that in my life hole, because I didn't really perceive of Jackie Zabrowski. This is going to sound shitty, but I didn't perceive Jackie Zabrowski as a person for a while. She was just this entity that Henry would occasionally invoke. And there was always this, how do I put this? There was always a wee touch of fear in his voice when he would talk about her. And I feel like that's very telling of who she is as a person. But anyway, I feel like the counterculture thing is also very, is a very good example. That's not the word I want to use. The counterculture thing is, I think there's a lot of precedent for that, because you think about what our generations, or the current internet zeitgeist generation's ideal couples are. It's either Harley Quinn and Joker, which is deeply problematic. There's issues with that. Or it's the much, much, much less horrible and problematic, what's the word I want to use? Harley and Poison Ivy. Or it's Morticia and Gomez Addams.
Yeah, which is like the best one.
Yes, exactly. And it feels like our generation kind of grew up with oh yeah, when we all became adults, we were like, oh yeah, the Addams Family fuck on the reg, and of course, there's a bunch of people who also grew up being like, oh man, I would have totally gone to the Addams Family house with a bunch of dead flowers in my hands for Wednesday when I was 12 or whatever. It's it's just kind of funny that kind of goes hand in hand with this, like you said, this sort of counterculture embracing of Halloween.
I heard someone once call it a reversal holiday, where it's specifically a holiday to push back against what's normal. And you see that in the fact that it's a holiday about costumes and about being weird and being spooky and kind of doing things and acting in ways and celebrating things that generally the rest of the year we frown upon, or we kind of like, you know, try to ignore. Like, we try to kind of ignore death for the rest of the year, but Halloween's the one time of year where you openly put skulls and shit every year. Like, it's the one holiday where, like, for a lot of people, the rest of the year, you have to dress pretty conservatively, and, like, especially for women, it's like, you know, a lot of, like, oppressive shit around sex and sexuality, but, like, Halloween comes, and it's like, get your titties out! You want to be a sexy pirate? Do it! Like, you know?
Do it.
So, like, it's a holiday about doing shit that for the rest of the year, a lot of people feel like they can't do.
And that of course goes hand in hand with countercultural movements and with, like, you know, for decades a giant gay anthem movie is Rocky Horror Picture Show, which itself is this giant throwback to horror films and sci-fi films and ooky scary stuff. And then of course that all gets wrapped up in weird sex stuff and non-heteronormative identities. And
there's a lot of queer shit in horror and horror movies, whether it's like simply the fact that a lot of villains for a long time have been queer coded, or just the fact that, like, we often see ourselves in the pitiable monster, because a lot of monsters are misunderstood and seen as grotesque, but to someone who is, you know, queer, they can relate to that, you know? Like, people can relate to the monster of Frankenstein, because everyone thinks he's a monster, but really he's misunderstood, and, like, what can speak to a gay person more than that at times, you know? There's a lot of fucking camp in a lot of horror, you know? There's a lot of camp, there's a lot of, like, dramatization in a lot of these things. Like, it's a thing that I think has drawn a lot of, like, queer or gender non-conforming type of people. And so once again, bringing it back to kind of the counterculture, you're seeing all these people who are now, in this day and age, able to be more openly queer and pushing back probably against a lot of the more conservative roots they come from. And so again, they're drawn to Halloween because of that culture that surrounds it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you really kind of hit the nail on the head there. Because I remember, as a kid, just being like, oh my god, like, this ooky spooky scary stuff that also has this layer of sex kind of dangling just out of sight. I feel like that's a very interesting subject to, and of course, like you said, that all comes down to counterculture and to what's more counterculture than doing weird sex stuff, because being a sex weirdo. I don't know where I heard that term, but I have embraced it for a long time. But okay, well, let's talk a little bit about, like, Halloweens of Christmas past, and what are some of the things you find nostalgic about Halloween and spooky scary?
So, I mean, I definitely always remember trick-or-treating as a little kid, which was great, but, like, oh man, I'm so excited. So here's the thing.
Oh, yeah?
One of the things that I remember the most is I remember trick-or-treating, but then I remember coming home after trick-or-treating and, like, plopping myself in front of the TV and, you know, while you do all your candy sorting and all that shit, like, and I remember specifically watching Disney Channel. Like, every year, I would watch Disney Channel on Halloween after coming home from trick-or-treating and watching all their Disney specials. So, like, obviously, Hocus Pocus, which is another thing that has super come back in vogue now that everybody who grew up on it, like myself, are adults. And have disposable income to spend on it. because it was forgotten for like kind of a long time. But I remember that, but I also remember this special. And there's kind of a couple different versions of it because, like, Disney brought it back to the Disney Channel every couple years or every couple generations and would tweak it a little bit. But it's called Disney's Halloween Treat. And I try to post it on Facebook whenever I can because you can kind of find it on YouTube, but it's like, it's the worst fucking quality you can imagine. Like, it is so artifacted that there are some scenes where you're like, that's a blob. Like, I know what the scene is because I'm familiar with, like, what cartoon they're showing and what they're playing, but, like, if you didn't, you would just be like, this is just noise on a screen. Like, it is so, it's clearly ripped from, like, a VHS that was recorded from television that, like, it's one of those. But,
yeah.
It's basically, it's like an hour and a half long clip show that they've strung together, and they made like a new theme song, and they have a narrator that brings you through all this stuff, and it's a clip show of some Halloween cartoons and like a bunch of clips of villains from old Disney movies and just different things like that, and it's a whole lot of fun. And that has been like my big, like that's probably one of my biggest memories of Halloween, is watching that, and also watching the, like, they would also play the sing-along. Because they used to have, like, Disney sing-alongs. But there was one that they would always play during Halloween because it was them singing the tune from the Haunted Mansion. But they have,
yeah, okay.
They have people, like, outside the Haunted Mansion in, like, Disney costumes that are so beautifully aged. So, like, you're from the 70s.
Oh, no. Oh, chef's kiss. I love it.
It's gorgeous. But, like, that's what I remember. And, like, I found, so, like, again, you can't find Disney's Halloween Treat. Like, it's not on Disney Plus. Disney has only ever sold it for a limited time on VHS. And then on YouTube, it's like, it's grainy to shit.
Right.
I found a company.
Oh no.
That makes bootleg Blu-rays.
Oh, of course.
And I bought it. And I watched it yesterday.
Oh.
And it's pretty fucking great. Like, it's clearly bootleg. It's got the most, like, bare bones menu screen that's either, like, chapters play, and that's it. But
yes.
it's the full thing, and it's, like, is it the best Blu-ray quality ever? No, it's not gonna look like, you know, an enhanced, like, digitally remastered Blu-ray. But it's better than not being able to see what's on the screen on YouTube. Like, it's pretty decent quality.
Is that Mickey Mouse, or is that a gourd? Who can say?
Like, it's pretty decent quality. And, like, I don't really feel bad about buying it, because if Disney's not gonna make it available anywhere, fuck them. Like, who cares?
That is one of the things that I remember, just as a slight aside about Disney culture, and how, like, and you and I have talked about this a little bit just one-on-one, but I think there's a perception in non-Disney culture spaces where people are like, oh, Disney fans will just go with whatever Disney says, and are like mindless Disney consumer drones, etc., etc. When
there are some folks like that, but there are some folks like that in any fandom.
Right. I mean, I can definitely attest to this. I have been most of the better part of this week, I've been having pitched arguments on Twitter and Facebook about Shin Godzilla, because Accident Cinema did a Halloween special on Shin Godzilla and why he doesn't like it.
Oh, right.
And it's mostly and it mostly has to do with the fact that it's a movie that's supposed to be about this disaster, but you never really see what happens to the people who are directly affected. It's all from the perspective of the politicians, and that combined with some of the fetishization of the military in the film makes the film really appealing to far right-wingers. Yay! Yay! Anyway, But so and of course there's a lot of people who just think that Shin Godzilla can do no wrong. And anyway, it's so interesting to me because you have this deep tie to stuff like Disney Channel specifically. Mm-hmm. And I just never did. And I think it was because as a kid, my safe spaces were Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Fox Kids, but only certain times of the day. Mm-hmm. And
only when they're showing Digimon.
Only when they're showing, I was Batman the Animated Series and Power Rangers. Yeah. Like, by the time Digimon came around, I was like, I mean, I loved it and I was all in, but I was also like, I remember when they used to show X-Men. Fucking elder millennial over here. Mm-hmm. Anyway. But yeah, it's just fascinating to me to... Because I was just thinking about you talking about, coming home and counting your candy and having something playing, having something on TV. I'm not a horror kid, which a lot of people are surprised to hear because I'm such a big kaiju fan. And the kaiju genre shares a lot of its DNA with the horror genre.
Yeah.
But
I feel especially because the like crossover with King Kong and King Kong's like relation to Universal monsters.
Yeah, I would say it's
especially in the States who aren't familiar with the kaiju genre, people associate Godzilla with horror because of that tie.
Right, and there are horror elements to the original Godzilla, no question about that. It's not like a spooky clown scare me, oh no, this clown's gonna fight the space turtle or whatever the hell was going on, kind of horror. It's not. When I was growing up, horror was in the middle of taking this hard turn towards the Freddy Kruegers and the Jason Voorheeses, and then of course it all came to a head with Scream, and I was not into it. I was not about it. Mm. And so for me, though, even stuff like Nightmare Before Christmas, I was scared to watch.
Aww.
I know. I didn't watch Nightmare Before Christmas until I was an adult.
That's wild.
With disposable income. Yeah, I know, which is crazy. It is not I like Nightmare Before Christmas. I think it's a very creative and beautiful film, but I do not have a shred of nostalgia for it.
That's funny. That's
I know. Film. No, I like it a lot. I think there's a lot to dissect in it. I feel like it's one of the better things that Tim Burton attached his name to. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like that and Beetlejuice,
which we did watch the other night.
Beetlejuice is so good.
It is. It is very fun. It's a little weird structurally, because Beetlejuice is barely in it. Mm-hmm. Because it's mostly about the Gina Davis and what's his name? I can't remember the name of the guy.
Baldwin.
Oh yeah. God,
super young Baldwin.
Yeah, he's a baby. He's like he's like fetal.
Like he's actually pretty attractive in that movie, because when I think of Baldwin now, I'm kind of like, eh.
Oh, it is Alec Baldwin.
It is, yeah. Super young. He's a baby.
He's kind of puffy now.
A little bit.
But
it happens to us all.
We all get a little puffy. But yeah, I mean, it was very. It just, I could tell that it was
a very young Winona Ryder.
Oh yeah, that is Winona Ryder.
Yeah. She's Lydia.
And the who is it? The dad is the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Mm-hmm. Which again, Beetlejuice. So okay,
and the mom. I always forget the actress's name, but the mom is the same mom from Home Alone.
Yes, I remember when
fucking love her.
I remember when I saw that, I was like, "Is that the mom from Home Alone?" Mm-hmm. Because, and again, Beetlejuice is another one of those things. Real quick, mic check. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but Beetlejuice is another one of those things that, again, there's this veneer of nostalgia around my brain with this thing because I remember images from it. I remember my parents watching it because my older sister really she liked horror movies and made me watch Scream with her when I was way too young to watch Scream, and that legit gave me nightmares. What's that?
Is it funny? I think that's...
Yeah.
What a weird movie to make you watch, because also, like, I'm sure if you just watch it on its own, it's still, like, a decent horror movie, but that's almost a movie that works better if you understand the culture around slashers that came prior to it.
Well, yeah,
that's the whole point, is that it's a commentary on it.
Right. And I feel like that's something that I maybe would have picked up on, but I was so shocked by the gore of it. I had never seen something like that before. I had never seen, like, a guy get his stomach cut open in front of his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh, no thank you. No thank you forever. Oh no. Oh no. I didn't know. Like, I was not aware that was a thing that anyone would even think to do to someone else. Like, I was the most sweet baby Babu and just like the dark, but I am very nostalgic for Goosebumps, and I'm very nostalgic for this brand of kid-friendly horror that started popping up in the late 90s. Mm-hmm. You got your Goosebumps, you got your Are You Afraid of the Dark, which again, like, I'd watch, but I'd also get really freaked out by, and sometimes I just couldn't finish episodes. There are like... Scary Stories I think I skimmed when I was a kid, and I couldn't... But it's one of those things where it's like, you're kind of drawn to it, but you're scared of it, and that's the whole appeal of Halloween. Yeah.
I mean, I think those three things right there are another thing that feeds into why our generation loves Halloween so much. Because again, those were Halloween marketed things towards children, but like very specifically horror Halloween things marketed to children.
Yeah. Like, kid horror is something that I don't think is really a thing right now. Like, it'll, every now and then something will pop up.
There will be, like, a movie now and then. Like, there will be a Coraline or a Paranorman or something. But, like, yeah, I don't think there's any long-running thing like a Goosebumps anymore. I think the books might still be in print, but other than that...
Well, I remember, speaking of stop-motion animated movies, Morgan and I did watch Frankenweenie the other night.
Oh, yeah. That's cute.
It's, it's one of those things where I'm just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's very... like, later she watched kind of on her own the original Frankenweenie short that it was based on, and she said, yeah, it's 35 minutes long, and that's as long as that story needs to be.
It really was. Like,
yeah.
It was one of his really early stories, and it was a short story. It's all it was supposed to be, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's better that way, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Like, but the long one, it's like, yeah, it's cute, but it didn't need to be this, you know?
Yeah, it didn't need to be this.
Like, I will say, so, like, you haven't seen The Babadook, have you?
No. That's one of those movies where I'm just like, I don't know if I could deal with this. Even as an adult. It's
pretty good. I will say, like, it's got creepy moments, but it really focuses a lot more just on, like, the drama of the family. It's got a lot of really slow build-up. I think you could probably handle it, but, like, it's based off a short by, obviously, the same director. And it's like maybe a 15 to 20 minute long short. And the movie's great. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Movie is a stellar fucking movie. The short, I think, works a little bit better. Because, again, doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah, that's okay, so that is also, like, kind of ties into the way I still consume horror stuff. I mean, because obviously, so I didn't really start watching horror movies until I was basically an adult. I mean, I kind of did a little bit of backpedaling to see what I had missed. Like, I got the full Aliens series on DVD once, and I sat down and burned through a bunch of them, and was like, okay, I see now.
Yeah,
like, even on my tiny television in college, I was watching the original Alien, and I'm like, this is really intense. But at the same time, I didn't realize how intense it was until I saw it on the big screen during a South by Southwest back in like 2017, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm on the edge of my seat this entire film. But
good, like, the original 3 Alien movies are fucking, like, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, like, here's a funny fact.
Okay.
So, you know my mom. You've met my mom a couple times.
Yeah.
My mom is so sweet. Like, my mom is perhaps the sweetest person I know.
This is gonna take a turn.
She's so sweet. She's so lovely. Like,
you
know, Southern woman, born and raised Alabama. Like,
ooh. All
just
right, there you go.
very kind. My mom is a very kind woman. And she's also very liberal, because I know some people are thinking, ooh, Alabama. Like, no, my mom's actually pretty liberal these days. One of her favorite movies in the whole goddamn world is the second Aliens movie. And it's so cute that, like my adorable little Southern mother, like, fucking loves aliens.
Well, it's funny how people of a certain generation aren't defined by their interests the way that people like us are. Because, like, you know, that's really cute, because my dad, super, like, I don't want to make him sound like an asshole or anything, but very much jock, A-type personality, surfer, snowboarder. He's 66 years old. His favorite movies are Conan the Barbarian, Return of the King, and Predator. And there are certain things where it's like, you can see the appeal, because, you know, he loves Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and he loves action, but he also loves fantasy, and he loves historical, like, fantasy that has a lot of, like, he loves Game of Thrones and stuff. So it's just very fun to see, to talk to people of a certain generation and see what movies kind of stick in their craw, because
yeah, it's kind of fun thinking about, like, what my parents, like, favorite things are. Like, I think it's super cute that my mom's, like, favorite movie, at least one of them, is Aliens, and, like, my dad is this huge nerd. My dad's, like, he was a physics high school teacher, but he loves, like, nerdy shit. Like, he plays video games. I play video games because he plays video games, because it meant I grew up on them.
Right.
And he's played a fuck ton. He definitely likes fantasy stuff, but, like, one of his favorite ones is Wind Waker. Like, I know out of the Zelda series, that's his favorite Zelda. I think probably out of all the games he's played, it's still probably one of his favorites.
Wow. Yeah, that's so. I mean, I got into Zelda because a friend's grandmother, and I've talked about this on our show, our other show, but my friend's grandmother started playing Ocarina of Time because she was in the hospital for, like, recovering from surgery.
Yeah. And
she had nothing to do, so they got her a Nintendo 64 and she just played Ocarina of Time.
That's fantastic.
It's awesome. And then I remember that was how I got introduced to it when I went to go visit that one time. But anyway, Halloween. So the one thing, there are two big things that are specifically nostalgic for me when it comes to Halloween time. Like, these are the things I think of when I think of Halloween. And that's the Universal Monsters, like that specific roster of characters, and It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which I know is true for a lot of people. A lot of people share that particular nostalgia button. Which is so funny because I feel like Charlie Brown's had a little bit of a cultural reassessment in the last few years,
Yeah.
Mostly in that everyone's like, wow, people are really shitty to Charlie Brown for no good reason.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that an author insert for Charles Schultz?
I think so.
Yeah, so maybe he was just a shitty kid and was kind of and then like Tommy Wiseau'd it or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, that was one of the things that I would always like, that would always be playing, and I would have on while going through my candy and stuff, was something like Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And as the years have gone on and as I've gotten older, I have made it a point to make sure that I watch that on Halloween. And it's not just because I'm like, if I don't play it, it won't keep the goblins asleep. Like, it's not like I have any kind of, I think that it'll put a hex on everything, you know, but it's more that I feel like every time I watch it, I discover some new layer of comedy or social commentary that's buried inside of it. Because the way the kids talk, especially characters like Linus, you get these very erudite observations on, like, and it's usually through a kid lens, like, you've heard of fury in a woman scorned, haven't you? Yes, I guess I have. Well, that's nothing compared to the fury of a woman who's been cheated out of trick or treat. Just, it's very cute. It's very cute. And then just those backgrounds, those painted backgrounds, these watercolor backgrounds are so deeply nostalgic for me, because they really do set this mood, this autumnal Halloween night mood.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's really what I'm going to do to get in the mood for that stuff. And then, you know, of course, the Universal Monster stuff is also that brand of much tamer, easier for me to digest horror that must have scared the shit out of people back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're a little, like...
We're a little jaded.
It takes a little more to scare audiences these days. But yeah, back in the day, that was some shit.
Well, and I mean, it says something that, like, Universal doesn't know what the fuck to do with these characters and keep trying to make them into action films. Yeah. Whereas it's like, you probably... Can you
just give those to a horror director? Like, is it that hard, Universal? Just hire fucking Guillermo del Toro to do some of that shit. He already basically made... the creature from the Black Lagoon, like,
yeah,
he did it. Just give him another one.
That's what happened. They wanted to give him Creature from the Black Lagoon, but he basically wanted to make a story about the Gill Man being the protagonist in some way, being not the villain, and make it like the real monster is man sort of story. And they said no.
You mean like half of what those movies already were anyway?
I mean, right. And then, of course, they told him no. No, we have a specific vision for this whole franchise. And, of course, they were going to make him do it all CG.
How'd that go? How'd that go, Universal? How's it going?
Oh, did the director you scorned go off and make 1 billion Oscars?
Oh, you made The Mummy and it sucked and tanked the entire idea? Cool.
I was
job. You did it.
It's just so goddamn sad, because I was reading articles about how, like, oh yeah, Universal bought offices just for the staff working on that Dark Universe project, with, like, giant office decorations of the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster, like...
You dumb pieces of shit.
It's so sad.
Like, why did you... I mean, I get why. They wanted it to be this dark action series to match the fucking universe, like the DC universe and the Marvel universe, because those are big action flicks, and it's like, but it didn't... Why? Like, why though?
Why are you like this?
You can still build up your like extended universe with these monsters. They pretty much had that back in the day anyway when they started doing all the fucking crossovers. Like, but it doesn't have to be these big stupid Hollywood bombastic action movies. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah, you don't have to destroy London. Like, I mean, I feel like there is, and that's the thing, is like, I feel like now is the best time. Well, not now, but now's kind of the best time because you have these up and coming horror directors coming out of the woodwork who are legitimately very talented and have really unique visions for how to make a high fidelity, you know, a very modern special effects, modern aesthetic horror films that are still scary and not for very much money. You know, you've got stuff like It, which just rocked the box office.
God, I fucking loved it.
Did you see the sequel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the sequel?
I loved it. I thought it was fucking great.
Okay. I heard some criticism towards the sequel that made me kind of think, but
here's the thing, like, because I've heard the same thing. I've heard people kind of like shit on the sequel. People are like, it's too long and it's not as scary. It's yada 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 yada. I really liked it, and I watched a review from a guy who does horror movie reviews the other day who put it perfectly into words because he was like, no, this movie's great. It's not as scary as the first one, and it doesn't need to be, because this is not another... He's like, this is a story. This is a character arc. The first one is about children, and you're getting to know these children, and getting to know what scares them, and getting to know what fucking traumatized them as children. That's why it's scary. He's like, second of all, first of all, the second movie is still scary. It still has scares in it. Like, it's still it's still a horror movie. But it can't be the same thing as the first movie because you have to follow through these character arcs, and you can't just repeat what you did. You know? And I'm like, thank you. Like, yeah. You have to follow these character stories. It can't just be a repeat. Like, this is their arc. This is their narrative, and it has to, like, keep the story going. You know? Like, no, the second movie it's great. Like, it's a great movie. You know?
Well, I'm glad that, you know, you put it that way, because I can't speak to it, because again, I was like, oh man, I bet that It movie is really good. Don't know if I want to watch it.
You know, it's like, you can't just repeat the same thing you did with a sequel. That would be like complaining that The Return of the King doesn't have enough of, like, the Shire. It's like, well, no, because it's the fucking third movie. You gotta keep the story going. Like, what, you know?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the stuff that people like is the stuff that rises to the top, and that's the stuff that, like, people who don't understand why they like to film tend to focus on. They're just, all they know is like, well, I like this, therefore I want more of this thing, and they don't really comprehend why they liked the thing. They just know they liked the thing, which is why we should completely do away with focus groups. Well, like, I mean, I've said this a couple of times where I'm just like, some of the greatest fiction in history was made without any market testing or focus groups. Like, you really shouldn't give an audience what they ask for. You should give them what they didn't know they wanted, which is really hard to do.
It is.
Yeah. But what do you have any specific memories from, like, as you got older? Like, is the Disney treat specials, those really kind of colored your Halloweens when you were younger?
Yeah, it really did. Like, that's a lot of my memory from, like, younger years of Halloween. I don't have a lot of memories when it comes to, like, junior high and high school, because let's get real sad for a second.
Aw.
I was too old to go trick-or-treating, but also, like, I wasn't a very cool kid, so, like, I wasn't going to parties or shit. Like, my Halloweens back then were just kind of staying at home.
Aw.
So that's kind of a bummer, but, like, as I got older, I started to do more stuff. Like, these years, I do either go to parties or I go and spend time with a select group of friends, and we just have a really nice evening in. Like, I've spent a couple Halloweens with you and Morgan, I think, and I really, like, even though those aren't nearly as, like, long ago as my childhood, like, I still look back at those, and I'm like, those were really fun evenings to just, like, stay inside, answer the door for trick-or-treaters, and, like, watch things on TV and have a nice dinner and stuff. Like, that was delightful.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed those as well. I remember specifically us watching, what was it? It was the Best Friends play. What is that game with the little ghosty girl, and it's the 1,000 rooms or whatever?
Yeah, the Spooky's House of Jump Scares, which I think it's changed names for some reason, but that's what it was called. Yeah. It's fucking great.
I remember like getting mad because the stupid thing would because it actually, like, the little jump scares would get me, and I'm like, but then, like, the legitimately scary stuff starts happening, and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like this now. I remember one Halloween, we went to a friend's place, and I put the first Slender Man game onto her computer, and we projected it onto the television, and we were screaming, just like, there it is! I remember, there was I got the note, one of the notes from the side of the old broken down Jeep or whatever, and I walked back from the Jeep and just kind of was moving alongside the Jeep, and very briefly through the glass of the other side of the Jeep, I saw the Slender Man's face. And I don't know if that was like something they programmed in or something, but I'm like, oh my God.
That'd be really clever if they programmed that in.
I really got to, I need to play some horror games on Mike, you and me. Because I feel like I'm enough of a big boy to where I think I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to regret saying that.
Probably.
It's just I get real panicky for some reason. Because it's one of the reasons why I can't play Bloodborne.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you're like, I'm a big boy, and I'm like, yeah, how's Bloodborne going?
Not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Well, Bloodborne, like, stresses me out. Like, that's one of the problems I have with Bloodborne.
I mean, in fairness, I'm playing I'm playing video games with my friend, and he's trying to get me through Dark Souls. And I'm just as skittish in it. Like,
oh yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's suddenly like, I'm in Anne Orlando and it's this beautiful, like, high fantasy city in the bright sun. I'm still like, it's around this corner. What's gonna fuck up my day over here?
What fresh fuck do you have for me today, game? Oh yeah, like, what's gonna fuck up my day now?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It doesn't stop. And I'm much worse at it. Like, I'm so much worse at it. I got a good rhythm in, like, Bloodborne. I am garbage at Dark Souls.
Oh. So I have been working my way up the chain, so to speak, because I do try to play, like, a spooky game around Halloween time. And it used to be relatively tame stuff, like stuff that maybe hewed a little more towards action. Like I played Deadly Creatures for several years in a row, and that is one of my favorite Wii games. And it is kind of spooky, you know. You're going around, and the environments are very heavily themed. Like are you familiar with that game?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah, I just remembered the part where you go into this giant labyrinthine coven of Black Widow spiders, and it's not good. And then, you know, there's other areas like there's areas that are really dense with mushrooms, so it's very foggy. There's the Gila monster shows up to attack you, and it's like a T-Rex basically. But then, like, I've kind of been working my way up towards like maybe a Silent Hill or something, because I really I've been playing Parasite Eve this year. And it's not really a horror game. I mean, it kind of is.
It's got like horror elements, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily classify it as. Certainly not like a survival horror.
Yeah, it's kind of horror adjacent with its themes and its imagery, and there is a bit of a sense of isolation because basically the city empties out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they explain why there's no NPCs, but yeah, I mean, that's their explanation, and it does kind of give the city kind of a mysterious, empty vibe to it that I do appreciate. Costumes. What are some costumes that you've got fond memories of?
I remember the first year that I was allowed to dress up as a witch.
Allowed?
Yeah. So, like, I mentioned earlier that, like, my mom is pretty liberal these days. It was not always the case.
Oh, no.
I did grow up in a very, like, conservative Christian household, and both my parents used to be pretty conservative, and my mom actually did not allow me to dress as a witch for many, many, many years because of, like, Christianity's view on witches and witchcraft.
The thing that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
The thing that was made up as propaganda?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So no, I remember that year. I remember the year that I got to finally dress up as a witch. That felt like a big deal.
Aw.
I can remember some of the costumes that I wore as a kid, but I don't know if I have a whole lot of actual nostalgia for them. You know, I have nostalgia for the act of dressing up, but none where I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah, that costume, you know?
I had recently found a treasure trove of photos that I had brought back to my place from my parents' place of like, and I'm talking like little Matt, like very young Matt, where I could go back in time and be like, you're going to be a deviant when you grow up. But and there a lot of those are like, you know, Halloween pictures.
Yeah.
Not as many dinosaurs as you would expect. But a lot of Power Rangers. Like,
oh, sure.
Yeah, like several years in a row. Because my grandmother made most of my costumes. I didn't know you could buy costumes at the store until a certain point. And even then I was like, oh, those look like crap.
Mine always came from like Walmart.
Aw.
Like,
well, I mean, I'm not throwing shade.
It's funny because, I mean, they're Walmart costumes, but like, I remember going into like the Disney store as an adult and seeing like the fucking intense costumes they have for children now. And like, my mom made a comment, bless her heart, my mom made a comment where she was like, man, if they had these costumes when you were a kid, you'd have been all about that. And I was like, Mama, I love you, but if they had these costumes as when I was a kid, you still wouldn't have bought them for me. We bought our shit at Walmart. Like, you know damn well you would have not bought this $60 costume for me to wear one year.
I mean, I get that. I get that. Because that's the thing, is like, yeah, you buy these super elaborate costumes for your kid and they're going to outgrow them in like a month.
Yeah.
Because once or twice I did try to double dip in Halloween costumes and it didn't work.
Yeah, they just don't fit the next year. Yeah.
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 But my grandma made for me a Green Ranger costume one year. And like obviously she couldn't make the helmet. So she made the helmet out of cloth. And she like stuffed it full of stuffing so it would have this kind of puffed 3-dimensional quality to it. It is fucking awesome. And like she had like this mesh that went over my eyes, and she recorded episodes of Power Rangers for me and like would pause it and sketch the Green Ranger costume. Like it was a production.
That's intense.
I know. It was very cool. And looking back on it, I'm just like, man, that's some work. Put some work into it. But, you know, my grandma was always super extra when it came to me. And apparently not with anyone else. Like I would talk to my mom and she's like, yeah, like it's like I don't mean to be a bummer about it, but I was just talking to my mom after my grandma passed away, and she was like, yeah, you were the only one who got that treatment.
Oh.
Kind of shitty to everyone else.
Yeah. That's kind of a bummer. But
well, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, your grandma, you kind of lock in on one member of the family, and yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Another thing I remember that I'm super nostalgic for as a kid is my elementary school used to put on these fall festivals.
Ooh.
And it would be like one weekend kind of in the mid to late October. And it was a fun little like festival thing, and it would be at my elementary school outside in the parking lot and within a few select areas of the building, like the gym and the cafeteria, basically. And they would have all these different activities. Like I don't remember if they had like a bounce house and stuff, but they'd have like, you know, games and stuff, and things where like the kids could win prizes, whether it was like candy or like, you know, fake jewelry or stuffed animals or books or things like that. I think they had a silent auction. And the gym, the reason they used the gym was because they always did the gym up as a haunted house. Which so I love horror movies. I'm not very good at playing horror games, but I like horror games. Like, I like scary things. I am not good at haunted houses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is a bit too much for me. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of what haunted houses rely on are jump scares, and I'm like, I don't like to be startled. Like, I don't like to be tense knowing that I'm going to be startled, and then it happened. Like, that's my problem, I think, with a lot of haunted houses, where I'm like, I'd go into a haunted house if it was going to just be an experience where shit's not, like, jumping at me or chasing me or doing that kind of shit to me.
Right.
You know? Yeah. That's my thing, is I don't like that. So, like,
right.
I never did the haunted house as a kid. I was always too scared. Until the very last year when I was in, like, 5th grade, I finally did it. And it was a lot of fun. And, like, I look back on that really fondly. And it was a really intense and impressive production. Like, they made a little hallway in the gym, and I think they must have covered it, like, they must have taken, like, tables and, like, kind of those fold-out sections where you can make walls and, like, covered it in black paper and black, like, garbage bags to really black everything out and make this hallway to go through that would, like, scare you. But they made a branching path where one was just the walking path and you go through it, but the other was like a kid only, where like you had to go through the rat tunnel and you had to literally like get down and crawl through it, and they put all these like lights in the walls to look like little rat eyes looking at you. And I'm like, this is an intense production for, like, an elementary school festival. You know? Like, it's impressive.
But no, I was just saying that I could imagine fifth grade Rebekah being like, yeah, wow, the production value on this is really impressive. Like, just
I was that obnoxious little
oh, you were that kid.
kid. I was that kid. I'm still that kid. Have
yes.
you listened to me talk?
Why, yes, I have.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, I remember doing that every year. That's
very cool. That's very cool. You just reminded me of Patton Oswalt doing his stand-up bit about Halloween that his kid's school puts on. Of course, it's in this artsy fartsy section of like Burbank or something. And and it used to be that the kids would put on the Halloween haunted house and everything, but at a certain point the parents kind of took over, and they're all like frustrated off-Broadway theater actors, and so he's taking he's like chaperoning some of the kids through the haunted house, and then this witch comes out, and instead of going boo or something, she goes, "I've killed Harry Potter." and all the kids go, "What?" Like, and she goes, "Oh no, well, there's a whole story. You have to pay attention though." And and I'm just like, man, that totally tracks. That honestly, that sounds like something I would do. That sounds like something I am doing.
Yeah.
Because this year for Halloween, obviously there's a lot of precautions that need to be taken if you're going to trick or treat. Yeah. But we are setting it up to where our how do I put this? We have a crashed UFO in our front yard, and I bought us a bunch of hazmat suits, myself and Morgan and my assistant and another friend of ours, and we are basically gonna like, how do I put this? We're gonna like be essentially we're gonna go out a little bit beforehand and kind of strew the candy like the ship was carrying candy, and we're gonna strew it about, and so we're gonna be in our hazmat suits with like little grabbers, and we're gonna be like picking the candy up, pretending like basically sanitizing it, and then like prepping it for the kids to take. Like, it's gonna be a whole production, and I'm sure it's gonna go sideways at some point, but
it'll be fun though.
Yeah, it will be fun. We've got a whole plan in motion. But you know, we're also gonna have like biohazard tape up so that the kids don't get too close to us, because you know, I'll hit them with the spray bottle.
Yeah, as you should.
As I should. As we all should. I'm trying to think of some other like. I do remember one year I did help out with a friend's haunted house. And once or twice, shit did go sideways, and they had to like, it was just in a friend's backyard, and I didn't even know like what they kind of scares they had, but inevitably I think you need to have contingency plans for when someone gets too scared.
Yeah, and you gotta have like a quick exit.
Yeah, I don't think they had that. I think like the mom stood there outside of the haunted house for like 20 or 30 minutes, and they kept having to like, my friends kept having to like go in there after these kids to try to extricate them, and they just wouldn't, like this one kid just wouldn't move.
He was just frozen.
He was just, yeah, or just like in a ball on the ground, like just like, and that's stuff you unfortunately, and I'm sure they have that stuff, like the professional haunted houses must have that.
I'm sure they probably have like quick exits every couple yards or something, or every room, or however they're set up.
Yeah, because you don't know if someone maybe is like either through no fault of their own, or maybe entirely through their own fault. Maybe they've got a heart condition and they think they're going to be okay, and then they're super not okay.
Yeah, or some dude bro gets a little punchy.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, you and I have talked about the folly of having walk around scare characters in theme parks.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that happening in a
Bad idea. Don't do it.
yeah. That's definitely I bet that's a common occurrence. Well, for years wasn't there this super scary haunted house that's like this legendary haunted house somewhere in the Midwest? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard that before. I kind of almost wonder if that's like an urban legend these days. It's like, oh, is this haunted house that was so scary that nobody ever made through? I'm like, the more I think about that, the more I'm like, that sounds like an urban legend. Like, that sounds...
Well, I think I found their website.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I don't think they claimed like no one can ever finish it, but I think they were going for, we want to be the scariest haunted house in America, basically. But the way they did it was, it wasn't like walking through, it wasn't like a walkthrough. Well, it kind of was a walkthrough kind of thing. What it was it was essentially you were agreeing to be tortured for like...
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's a fucking asshole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I've seen multiple things on him. He strikes me as just a huge fucking asshole. And it's almost to the point where people are like, this isn't a haunted house, this is a torture experiment. And of course nobody, like, there is no end to it. There is, like, it got to the point where there was no end. There was no beating it. It was just, how long can you go until you tap out? And I'm like, that's just torture at that point.
Yeah, I think eventually, go ahead.
There was, like, a story, because, again, I've watched multiple things on him. He had, like, a neighbor who didn't really like each other. Because, I mean, he was also doing this in a neighborhood. And so people in the neighborhood are like, we're hearing screams from your house. Like,
yeah,
this is a residential area and there's like torture sounds coming from your house. So like he had this one neighbor and like she didn't want to do it. She didn't like haunted houses, but she certainly didn't want to do his shit. And like he finally convinced her that like, no, like we'll do it. We'll give you just a small taste of it just so you can see what we're doing. It'll be great. And like they didn't give her just a small taste. Like they did the full thing and it kind of fucked her up. And I think like she tapped out eventually, like pretty quickly, I think. And like he somehow like tricked her into doing it again. And I'm like, that's fucked up. And like there's been a couple, it sounds like, because obviously people are allowed to tap out, like they're basically allowed to safe word. But like there's been a couple times where I'm like, I don't think it's that rare that someone tries to tap out and they don't really let them. Like,
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, everything I've heard about that is like, I'm like, that's super sketchy. That's just like, that's not a haunted house. That's just you wanting to torture people, like,
Yeah, and I remembered, like, I think the last thing I ever saw about it was he made a video. He posted a video saying, we gotta make changes, and he was so begrudging about it because and I saw that video and he didn't go into details because I don't remember him going into details, but it sounds like someone got litigious, and it sounds like somebody.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they had very good regulations. Like this guy is kind of an asshole, and like I said, it's just a group of people doing it in a house, and I'm like, there's no regulations. Like, how many times have people tried to tap out and you like didn't let them? Like, no, that guy strikes me as a huge fucking asshole.
It makes me think about how, like, because there is always you see something like that, there's a part of you that thinks, or a part of me at least, that thinks like, could I do that? Would I want to subject myself to that? But knowing what I know about myself, because I get very thrashy if I feel claustrophobic. Like if I'm like I would wrestle with friends or something just for fun when I was younger, and if I would get to a certain point and I would be like, no, I'm done, I'm done, and I would get very thrashy and at a certain point very punchy and very like I will just start swinging and you better not be in the you're what how does the Simpsons line go? If any part of your body fills that space where the air is, it's your own fault. And I just wonder like how like what would happen, how bitey I would start getting, you know? Like if I would just have an absolute panic attack and just start breaking stuff. So anyway, I think that I have very similar experiences to haunted houses. I think you do, where I'm just like, nope, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. And I think for me, it's not just so much the jump scares. It's you're in a dark place with people who I don't know these people. I don't know what they're gonna do. And I don't trust these people, and I just don't trust the situation. I don't feel safe in the situation at all.
Interesting.
And now granted, as I've gotten older, it's not as bad as it was. You know, I can suck it up, and I can give it the old college try. But at the same time, I'm also like, yeah, but also, like, if I'm really having that bad of a time, why should I subject myself to that? If I'm just going to be upset.
Yeah, my thing is, I wish it was more of, like, an experience than shit jumping out at you, shit, like, potentially chasing you. You know, like, I want, I want more of just a scary walkthrough experience where I don't think something's going to actively, like, startle me. You know, that's what I don't like. You know,
I feel like sounds like kind of what you're wanting is a theme park ride. You want like a dark ride.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I think I told you a little bit about when I went to Universal Studios Osaka a couple years back, and it was right in the middle of their full on Halloween like we're doing it. And Halloween Horror Nights, you know, which are fairly well known in the States, but in Japan, I mean, they go ham.
Yeah.
This one was especially
which is
cool.
saying something because they go ham here, like.
Right. Well, they go ham in Japan. Just gonna move past that. In a very particular way, and. So it is like there is a bit of that jump scare thing going on, but I remember, so my friend Adam worked for Universal Studios Osaka, and he took me into like behind the scenes and showed me like how they were making stuff, which is very cool. But I remember we did one of the haunted houses we did was the little pop-up houses. Oh, what was it? It was The Exorcist.
Okay.
And you're thinking like, oh, The Exorcist, it's like fucking whatever. She's in a bed and maybe some stuff moves around. No, they rigged up a fully working animatronic Reagan spider walking backwards down the stairs.
Yeah.
And then a person in a Reagan mask comes around the corner, and I remember I did not know they were back there until it was me and Adam. We're two like kind of tall American guys, and then it's a cluster of Japanese girls, like high school girls. And the way they do it is they give you a length of rope, and everyone has to have their hands on the rope because that's your group.
Yeah.
And we were being shuffled through the little house, and, you know, the Reagan prop kind of scared us, and we're like, oh. And then I remember Adam and I looked over our shoulder at one point, because we thought we could hear something, and here comes this person in a Reagan mask, and I'm like, shit, and we're like, we freak out these poor Japanese girls in front of us. We're like, go, and they're like, ah! And they don't even know what's behind them. They don't know what we're running from. But that was pretty good. But there was one of the not rides, but one of the experiences that was, I was like, oh, hard no. It was, I don't know if it was a franchise or not, but essentially you were strapped to a wheelchair and being carted around like this haunted hospital, this haunted asylum. And I'm like, oh, hard no. And like, they would pretend to inject you with something. And it was like a little whoosh of air or something like that to kind of give you that sensation. And I'm just like, oh, hell no.
Is it weird that I almost think I would find that more doable than a walk around where shit like jumps out and chases you? Because at some point the loss of control of being able to like get up and run myself means like, well, there's only so much they can do. Like,
yeah.
Because even in my brain, even though I know, like, okay, if they catch me in the haunted house, what the fuck are they actually going to do? Like, they want me to run. Like,
right.
They don't want to actually catch me because then what?
Yeah.
But there's still a part of your brain that's like, fucking run.
Yeah.
But if I can't run, I can't do anything, then it's like, well, then they can't like chase me because then what? Like,
yeah.
You know.
What is that? I don't remember what this is. Maybe it's a Brian Regan bit. All I know is I heard it on Game Grumps, but I just remembered this line I think Danny said, which is, what are they going to do? Get me? Like, yeah. And yeah, that raises an excellent question. Like, what are you going to do? Oh, well, you have me. Oh no, now he's got me. What are you gonna do to my butt?
Mr. Scary Man.
Oh, was that a game? Was that a Bloodborne? Yeah, that was a Bloodborne thing. Like, Mr. Scary Man. Oh no. Excuse me, sir. Where's someone's getting a little punchy. Whoa! Oh god, I'm crying because it's so fucking funny. Oh. Okay, so
I don't know. There's something about that idea of where I'm like, actually, the loss of control makes it less scary because, yeah, that actually limits what they can do to me in a weird way.
Yeah, I agree.
You're
I agree.
Punching on that. You're punching on that keyboard.
Sorry, I was just replying to someone. I was just replying to somebody who was like, basically somebody was asking, "Are you okay?" Because I've been waiting for you to reply for a while now. I'm like, oh god, that was an hour ago. Sorry. But yeah, I can see that. Like when you place limitations on it, I guess. But for me, I get claustrophobic really easily, and I have to have I really got to be in a certain headspace. Yeah. And
because for me, you strap me in that wheelchair, and then my brain is immediately like, "Oh, this is a ride." Like, okay.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. I think that once you're in it. You could probably get into that headspace. It's just that's all there is to it. It's, I don't know. I think for me though, like I said, it's the idea of being restrained in a hostile situation.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, makes me think of the film's Hostel, which I'm like, nope. People should only be tied up for fun. It should only be for fun. I mean, I guess it's someone's fun, but everyone should be having fun.
Yeah. I want to go back to theme parks during
I know. I
was supposed to be doing it. Man, can you believe, like... So I have, you know, yesterday, today, and all of next week off, and, like, had the world not completely imploded, I would be at Disney right fucking now with my mommy.
Oh.
Like, I know.
I know. Well, it's okay. I mean, it's sometimes it's okay to kind of get that shit out of your system, because this is gonna be the first Thanksgiving and birthday I'll have had in about 3 or 4 years where I am not in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in buttfuck America, like a loser. Although on my birthday, it is going to be Tokyo Comic-Con online weekend, I think, and I am still going to be involved, so I'm still going to be, like, doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to be working, thank God.
Yeah. Just what you want to do for your birthday.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, my assistant, bless her heart, she is like, okay, we need to make sure that you have alcohol on hand and Godzilla movies and whatever you need to feel not shitty.
Yeah.
That you aren't in Tokyo. But nah, I mean, I guess technically, well, see, that's the thing. We could technically go to Disneyland or Disney World. We just need to get into a car.
I'd rather not, though.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't know if I'd want to be there right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. We postpone our trip. Hopefully things will be normal enough in April to go. We'll see.
But, yeah.
Man, I remember, I guess, one last nostalgic Halloween thing that...
Yeah.
Is sort of nostalgic now, but it's definitely going to be super nostalgic come, like, 10 years' time, is, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe? Mm-hmm. 4 or 5 years ago, I went to Disney World with my dad. And we went for Halloween. And, like, we bought tickets to the, like, Mickey's Not So Scary show after hours thing, and, like, watched the special after hours only parade and castle show, and, like...
Nice.
That was so much fun. That was a really, really good trip. Like...
Aw.
Yeah. That was an amazing trip.
That's good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like especially this year, we all kind of, like... We're looking back on stuff just from the last couple of years, or even just in the last year, with this kind of wistfulness that almost feels like nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of ways it is nostalgia, because it's just remembering a happier, less complicated time.
Yeah.
And I definitely have felt that several times this year. And I would say, like you said, you know, you talking about, like, you know, you coming over here in the past, in some ways that's kind of nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, definitely hoping to do it again for you to come back over. And yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, cause you know what would be fucking dope is going to Tokyo on Halloween. Cause apparently it is just fucking crazy.
I did that.
That's right. You were there for Halloween. You were there. Were you like...
It was fucking crazy. Yeah, I was in the cross at the 109 building. Yeah.
At Shibuya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fucking intense. Like, it is packed. Like, I don't think Alicia had a very good time because she can get kind of, like, claustrophobic, even around, like, big groups of people. I was laughing because I was like, this is so fucking just, like, this is absurd. It's like...
That's awesome.
Yeah. She didn't want to go back to Shibuya after that because she was like, that was too much. And I'm like, Alicia, you know it's not always like that. Like... That's like saying you don't want to go to New York because you went there on New Year's Eve. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
I mean, I sort of get it on some level, but I also get what you. I mean, normally it's just kind of business people and tourists just kind of moving from point A to point B.
It's like, it's busy, but it's busy in the way that a city street is. It's not like, ass to ass with people all the time like it was.
Ass to ass.
Like, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was intense, but it was fun. I would do it again.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 would do it again. One thing I've been wanting to do for a while, and maybe I'll wind up doing this in Japan anyway. So there are these, so the inflatable costumes are kind of all the rage these days, especially because, there's a Godzilla costume, there's that floppy T-Rex costume everyone likes. There's a Kong costume, there's a Megazord, those are the ones I have. Yeah. And there's a Chinese company that makes these giant inflatable costumes that are like, I want to say they're like 10 feet tall. And really all you can do is just move around on your feet. You can just kind of shuffle in them. But they're so fucking big. I want to get one of those costumes and I want to like walk around downtown Austin and or downtown Tokyo and just be like, fear me. I don't know. I probably will wind up getting the shit kicked out of me. Like,
I was about to say, it's all fun and games until someone knocks you over and you can't get up. like you're a turtle on your back.
No. Well, I'll need to carry like a Bowie knife or something in the suit so I can cut my way out of it. Oh man.
You don't look like that scene in Ace Ventura where he used to climb up the butt
coming out of the asshole. Oh man.
Matt, why were you naked in there?
Well, I made a decision and I stick by it. Does that answer your question? Anyway,
the bail is gonna be.
So anyway, well, I'll make sure you're my emergency contact when that inevitably happens.
Yeah, inevitably.
Yeah. Hey, Rebekah. So it happens. I feel like that's just gonna be our code for. But
Please
the problem
get me
is
out of jail.
well, the problem is that it could be any number of things. It could be like, oh geez, what happened? And I'm like, I don't want to say. All I know is that we're about to become even closer as friends. Oh man. Okay.
Geez.
Okay. We've been at this for I think an hour and a half.
For a while.
And I'm sure we could continue talking about this, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll just have another podcast about Halloween stuff because we both love it.
God knows we can't exactly get together to play video games right now.
Meet Morp.
I don't know. We should find a way to record ourselves playing Monster Hunter or something.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for a while. We need to figure out, especially because Rise is coming out, and you get to have a puppy.
You get a dog.
Did you see the Japanese exclusive, like the lap? It's like a curled up Palamute that's on your lap.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's also a rest for your Switch.
That's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I want it.
All right.
I want the Monster Hunter.
I do. I want the Manstorbs.
Oh, man. Oh, shit. We don't have time to talk about it now, and it wouldn't fit, but, Hyrule Warriors.
Yes.
We're gonna have to talk about the new Hyrule Warriors at some point.
We will absolutely do that. I know the demo is out.
Yes, and, apparently if you play the demo, your save will carry over when you actually buy the game.
Yes.
So, that's pretty exciting.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we'll definitely talk about all that stuff in the Futorb. But, yeah, well, thanks for listening to us ramble about this crap.
Yeah, if you have any, Halloween memories of your own, definitely feel free to, comment them or whatever, because
Leave them in the comments.
We all need a little bit of like reminiscing of the good times, I guess.
Yes, the good times, the before 4 times, the long ago.
Yeah.
Oh shit, what was I gonna say? I think I have a sign off for us.
Okay.
May your quests be not so disastrous.
Nailed it.
I did it. It's not clunky at all.
Nope.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.